Hi, Nidhi-san.
Hello, Sachio-san. How are you?
Good. It's
Finally,
TGIF.
yeah, TGIF, right? And what a exciting day for us. Finally, we are starting with our episode 1 of the video podcast Bridging Borders, right?
Finally, it's we're so excited to start this. Finally moving. It's so happy to start this initiative.
Yes, and thanks to you, like I know, how much the effort it took both of us. We have been discussing it from last few months, and finally it came to the closure in the episode 1, where we can welcome our first guest today, right?
No, thanks to you. It's been so much of a great experience uncovering about this bridging the borders, thinking about the theme and preparation, reaching out to people, and I really love it. So I want to thank you for this.
It's amazing. I think we can welcome our guest, welcome our audience today. That we're really excited about this journey and we welcome them for our very first episode of Bridging Borders, and we are thrilled to have you all audience join us on this journey of discovery and insightful conversation. Today marks the beginning of a series where we try to delve deep into the minds of exceptional individuals who have navigated basically the intricate Japanese market and beyond, right?
Exactly, exactly. So we really want to thank you, all the audience who will be listening to our this webinar podcast,
Yeah.
and we hope to have all the dialogue moving forward with the speakers and also the audience.
Yes. So the audience get ready to uncover the unique experience and learn from the triumphs and gain a fresh perspective, basically, on the ever-evolving business landscape. So without further ado, let's dive into this enriching experience together.
Let's go. So thank you very much, Ito-san. So this is the very first actually episode of the Bridging Borders, and we're so excited to actually invite you at the very first speaker. And yes, thank you. So first of all, so we have as Nitin-san and myself be presenting in this podcast. And for first of all, would like to invite you as a very first speaker for
Thank you.
our series. And thank you so much for your time.
No, it's my pleasure. Appreciate your this opportunity.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. So before we start our session, we would like to first of all introduce about you, and also please add if any other things. So Mr. Ito-san is definitely a transformation leader and definitely a change agent within a remarkable track record. And with his great experience and turning around various Fortune 500 companies. And that also includes the Coca-Cola, Dell, Lenovo, Adidas, and Sony Pictures Entertainment, Haier, and also Japan Display. And as the CEO of Haier Asia Group, San achieved outstanding results and definitely reviving Sino Electric. And with his strategic, currently consulting firm, the X-Tech is currently supporting a major Japanese companies and internationally and offering great insights with the business. And with his cross-border background, he brings a unique perspective to his visionary leadership as well. So we'd like to welcome Ito-san, a true catalyst for change and an inspiration for these leaders worldwide. So over to you, San.
Well, thank you again for a great introduction. I guess you've covered pretty much what I've been doing or what I've done so far. So not much to add. Well, I guess in a nutshell, you could just describe me as a change agent or transformation leader. And I guess that's sort of well, the reason I guess I happen to be called as a transformation leader or change agent is that it's probably due to my background as well. I was born and raised in Thailand as a Japanese national. So before considering myself as a Japanese, I would consider myself as an Asian slash Japanese. So always seeing Japan from outside and having my higher education in US, working in an American company, German company, Chinese company, and Japanese company. I guess that sort of made me who I am today. So again, thanks for the opportunity to speak with you today. And I heard that it's the first session of the series to come. So again, I'm so excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Dusan. I think it's great. Like you explained, this is our episode 1, and who can be the better person or the better guest to talk to than you? So really appreciate of you accepting our invitation for this one.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Without wasting any time, I want to hear more from you. So I that the heart of our podcast mission is all about soaking the wisdom from incredible guests like yourself. And we are here to, uncover the nitty-gritties of how you have overcome the challenges and reach those inspiring heights, especially in the complex landscape of Japanese market. So diving right into it, my first question is, can you share a challenge, be it in Japan or even at a global scale? Like you mentioned, you have worked in so many global companies that you have encountered in your journey. And more importantly, how you were able to navigate through it.
Okay, Nitin. I guess to answer that question, it's kind of difficult because I've always been brought in as a change agent or turnaround specialist. So every company that I join as a CXO or CEO, the company's already in mess. So every time it's a challenge, So it's hard for me to really specify what are the challenges because every single, opportunity is the challenge. But at the same time, the definition of a challenge, I would say, is that there's always room for improvement. So that's the positive side, right? And when you go in when the company is in a deep trouble or in a bottom state, the only way is to go up. So again, that's another positive vibe. So I do enjoy that. If I were to give you 1 or 2 examples of recent challenges, why don't we start with the Sony Pictures Entertainment? It's the part of the Sony group, Sony Electronics of Japan. But Sony Pictures Entertainment is headquartered in Hollywood, in US. So all the executives, including CEO, chairmen, are all entertainment executives in US or some from Europe, none from Japan. So that's really a global company, I would say, setting compared to other regular Japanese companies. And just to give the background, Sony Pictures Entertainment operates in 61 countries globally. Japan, although it's situated in the headquarters of Sony in Japan, Japan's ranking was 61 out of 61 countries. So it was in a huge mess, right? And Japan is also a challenging country in terms of growth rate. I was in charge of the business unit called Home Entertainment Business, which is to make profit out of contents that Sony Pictures made, which is in the form of a DVD, Blu-ray, some in digital contents. So net, the market growth rate was 16 to 17% negative every year on year. So that alone is a challenge, right? I mean, the sales forecast that's been announced yesterday would be meaningless because minimum 70% drop.
Yep.
When you look at the market in terms of characteristics, it's a Western Hollywood made content. So looking at that section alone is negative 26%. So 26% drop every year. Obviously, nobody's making money in Japan. And same with the Sony situation. So I was brought in as a leader for Japan to either change that situation or shut down the operations without any legal issues within 3 years. So as a leader, I mean, I have two choices, right? I would rather go for the positive one. So I decided to go for the reviving strategy. And long story short, just to make it sum up, I had to change the whole structure, change the strategy, of course, tactics based on the strategy, of course, organization, and to motivate the employees or increase the engagement of the employees. I had to change the talent acquisition strategy and also the development strategy as well. I did everything all together at once. So that was the huge challenge. And at the same time, I had to restructure 49% of my workforce at the same time. So I have to reduce 49% of the workforce. That was the headquarters direction, which I didn't enjoy doing it, of course. But with that, at the same time, we had to utilize the contents that we had, which was back then it was a Michael Jackson, obviously the king of pop. Sony Pictures had the right to license or to sell his last content, which is his concert video. Although he passed away before the actual concert, so all the footage was based on the rehearsal. So again, that's a challenge. I mean, it's not even the real content, because unfortunately, Michael Jackson passed away before all things were completed. But we had to utilize that with what's left over and then make money out of it, right? So Japan's target was 350,000 units. The challenging target was 500,000 copies. Based on the Japan team's forecast, the ability of Japan to hit the number was 300,000. So it's way below the bottom target as well as a stretch target. And by the way, that was the time I joined, like a month and a half. I joined the company and then I had to do the restructuring. And actually 45 later, after I joined the company, I had to drive these initiatives. So again, this was, I would consider myself as a lucky person as well, because if I were to do this again, I'm not sure if I can do it again. So yeah, but back to the story. What we did was that despite the negative number that we were told, the achievement, we tried a lot of things, strategy-wise, structure-wise, and employee motivation, because obviously, after the restructuring, everybody's motivation was bottom, right? So all these challenges cleared away. We managed to ship out 2.3 million units. And actually, that was the world record. And Sony, back then, we delivered more numbers in the industry, right? Globally, when you look at the US market, for example, a huge title like Harry Potter, everybody knows this.
Yeah.
We managed to deliver more than Harry Potter title just in Japan. So that was quite an achievement, and I'm thankful for the team and also the support from the headquarters. But I think that's a time we managed to sort of prove ourselves that, hey, nothing is impossible. Things could be done, because I think what we do as business, right? Business leaders, I mean, we all are business leaders, and we're not even doing a brain surgery. We're not even trying to develop a rocket to fly to Mars or to the moon, right? So compared to that, we're using very simple math, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, right? So that's like fundamental math. What else do we need? I think it's all about the leadership and the mindset. So if you focus on those portions, then I still believe that anything is possible. And I guess I don't mean to be arrogant, but my career is a proof for that, I guess. So that was one example. Just shall I go with the second example?
I think I have a following up question.
Okay, sure.
Intriguing what you have achieved in just 3 years. most of the time I felt that in Japan, especially, and when you come from outside, it's not very easy to
Right.
bring change. How you manage that to motivate and do it in such a short span?
To begin with, right? Bringing motivation. Everybody talks about motivation as a leader. Yeah, it's fundamentally, it's required, but it's hard to bring that up, especially when you're a newcomer as a leader. And like in my case, I had to come in and I had to deliver within such a short term frame, right? So by the way, I was at Sony Pictures for 5 terms, 5 years. And from the first year I took over, we managed to hit the world record. And 5 years consecutively, we were the top profit driver globally. So that also contributed to the Sony Group total's profitability, because Sony back then was in red totally, but Sony Pictures Entertainment division was the one who was driving the profit, bringing up Sony's value up at that time. So that's a quick background, but the focus point should be the timeline. It shouldn't be the motivation, or it shouldn't be the strategy. I mean, those things are fundamental. You have to do it anyways, but you have to know that everything has to be done in a limited time frame. Because if you wait for 1 year or 2 years or something 2 years, then it's too late. I mean, good example would be the United States president. U.S. is the world's strongest economy, right? I mean, it has been and it will be for a while, I believe. And when a person takes over a presidency position, after 100 days, they do this 100-day review, right? I think that also applies to our situation as well. So I always make this 90-day strategy. So first day on board, first week is ongoing on and on and on, one-on-one meetings, skip level meetings, or group meetings. And I try to get all kinds of information and then build the strategy, tactics, structure based on that within the first month. The next 2 months is trial and error and then make some adjustment. So in most of my turnaround strategies or turnaround tactics that I've done in various companies, I've always followed this 90-day rule. So in many cases, my contract is usually like 2 years to 3 years, right? And I have to deliver within those time frame. Usually I have to deliver within the first year. Otherwise, I cannot really adjust if it's wrong. You know what I mean? So assuming if it's 2-year contract, then first quarter, first 3 months is the most important part. So again, back to the point, I would say the timeline, that's what you have to really pay attention as a leader. Because again, motivation, strategy, tactics, structure, that's the fundamental things that you have to cover it anyways. But, timeline, it's, as we all know, right? I mean, you cannot go back to the past. So that's, I would say, the critical element for the turnaround.
That's amazing. I think the timeline also creates a sense of urgency because
Exactly.
timeline. That's amazing. Thank you, Ito-san.
So I guess the second question I'd like to add is that, as you went through various companies' initiatives, right? And I'm sure that there is some experience that you went through. And what were the influences that you feel when you were making a constant change in the organization? What do you think were the takeaway that influenced you of your approach?
That's a good question. Never thought of it that way. Well, I guess the value that I always bring into the organization as a leader is that what is my accountability as a leader? I mean, job description wise, duty, maybe those are the terms that's usually described for the JD, right, as a leader. But aside from those JD or duty, I try to look at the other side, which is accountability. I mean, that also includes the how I was brought up, as a kid to business person, how I encountered a lot of leaders, people like you guys, I mean, there's always learning every day, right? And without with those knowledge and the connections and the enlightenment, I would say, you have to, everybody, right? Everyone, I think, has different accountability as a leader, because only one person can experience that, from birth to today, right? So whenever I take over this hardship or the new challenge, I will always look at, okay, what is my accountability as a leader? I mean, aside from the JD, because only I can see some issues, right? On top of the regular perspectives. I mean, as a leader, turnaround agents, everybody has that anyways, right? But on top of that, what is special, right? So those are the fundamental approach that I usually take, because there's always a time when I face challenges and then I'm like, is this the right approach? Should I go left or right? Sometimes as a leader, you shouldn't be doing, going left or right, but at the same time, we're human beings, right? So whenever I encounter that kind of situation, I always go like, okay, so what is my accountability? Why am I here? What have I experienced so far? What could I bring into this company? What could I bring into this team? What could I, how can I impact these people that I'm dealing with on a daily basis today? Because if I move on to different companies, that's it, right? So now is the only time. So yeah, I guess, my key phrase is accountability.
Amazing.
But
Amazing. Thank you.
I think just to relate it with that, I think one more question I have, Ito-san, is because you talked about you're working in so many different environment every 5 years, as a turnaround agent, you have to have that flexibility. Can you talk about the influences you have from famous, or the mentors you had from whom you have, got this inspiration throughout your journey, and how have these figures have helped you to what you are today?
That's another good question. Well, I guess I've got this very great opportunity, being able to work for the American company, European company, Chinese company, and Japanese company, all public listed as a CXO. I guess I'm very fortunate, right? So from that perspective, I've experienced lots of pros and cons, see pros and cons of each management style. And of course, there's no right or wrong answer, right? I mean, it's just pro and cons, right? I mean, it has to be adjusted based on the background, culture, or the business or the industry. So whenever I see this, again, challenge, difficulties, I always go back to these three people. First one is my father. I've learned a lot of things from him. He was a great business leader. He's the one who started the motorization in Thailand. So I always see him as a father figure as well as a ideal CEO. That sort of haunted me, to be honest, because there's always like my father above me. But then at one point when I met another I would say the mentor of mine, he's a German. I met him at the Coca-Cola. He was the head of the technical group for global art. Actually, he was the one who promoted me, despite I was considered as the youngest GM globally, or in Japan at least. You usually don't do that, but he's the one who teaches me. Well, he's the one who taught me how to keep pushing, and then you have to change things. Rules are meant to be changed. It's not like you have to follow the rules all the time. So that's like the second person I learned from, well, in terms of a mentor. And the third person was a former CEO of Lenovo, or the ex-CEO of Dell Asia Pacific CEO. His name is Bill Amelio. Very well-known executives. He taught me the operational excellence, and you cannot really compromise, because if you compromise, it will start to follow you. And that's what I learned. So whenever I have these challenges, whenever I go into the new companies, I always think of these three guys who have impacted me a lot. And I guess now I'm at the age where I have to transfer those knowledge, experience to other people. And that's what I'm doing in my company now.
That's great. I think the rules meant to be changed and the no compromise. I think these are the two statements I've echoed with me. Thanks. It's great.
And just to add to that one, I mean, yes, rules are meant to be changed. And nowadays I keep telling people that you have to create the new rules.
Mm.
I mean, if you create rules, you can take leadership, but then if you don't, someone else will create the rules and you have to follow that and you have to play the game along that line. So that's another level, leadership coaching that I'm doing now. But yeah.
Either you become a proactive leader or you become a follower. I think
exactly. And then everybody has a choice, right? So, and I always tell people that, hey, it's YOLO, you only live once. So it's up to you whether you want to be follower or you want to be leader. And if you choose to be leader, there's always an accountability and you have to really accomplish based on what you got to do and what you believe in. And at the end of the day, that's what makes you as a person, as a leader. So
that's awesome.
Given your experiences and I guess with the current situation, the business market, what kind of advice that you would like to give to a young business leaders, either based in Japan that does business globally, or maybe outside Japan that does a business in Japan? What advice would you like to give?
As we've been educated, as we all know, Japan's always been on this conservative side, a rigid side, right, compared to other countries. So business environment wise, also it's hard to make changes because people are pretty rigid, right?
Yes.
Monotone culture as well. But my advice to the new leaders who are applying to take a leadership role in this part of the world, or who are trying to go outside from Japan, is that, well, there are a lot of new wave coming in. And for example, geopolitical risk. This is biggest ever, right? We all know that what's happening in Russia and Ukraine and what might happen in China and this real estate risk, bubble burst risk that's going to happen in China, and impact that's going to give to this part of this country, to Japan, it's really hard to imagine, right? So as a leader, you really have to, I would just give one phrase, right? I would say expect the unexpected so that you can prepare. I mean, you can't say as a leader, oh, I didn't really think about that, or that was a surprise, because you are in the position where you have to make decisions and you have to deliver. So, and if you chose to do so, then it's simple, expect the unexpected. Once you know that something's going to come, then at least you're prepared, right? And that huge wave is going to come to Japan sooner or later. Maybe it has come already. So I think the business approach that business leaders in Japan, or people who are about to come to Japan, I think it's at the timing where it needs to be adjusted or to be changed. That's how I see it.
Amazing. Thank you. That's a great advice.
Thank you.
Given the current situation.
Yes, I think it synergizes pretty well with what we are trying to achieve with this podcast, to help the people to become a change agent like you. And I think I really impressed with this, expect the unexpected. I think that's going to be the tagline for this episode. Really appreciate your time, Ito-san, today. I think it was a great learning experience, and I hope our audience will also be enlightened with the key topics what you have talked about, right? The timeline, 90 days, and the accountability piece. I think it was really helping like leaders like us. Thanks a lot again.
And again, last but not least, I really admire your leadership on, passing this leadership skills to the new generation. So good luck to that journey.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.